Soaking energy on Dragonite, back out comes the Walrus. There's no baits on this channel. We go straight for the super power, go shield, and here comes Sandslash. The thing is, when you're using shadow Pokemon and you've got two shields, people love to bait. We call it's just an Icicle Sphere. Unlike the opponent, I'm going to go straight for the correct move of the Bulldoze. Bulldoze will be getting Wall Rain into the yellow again. The opponent builds up to the Earthquake. I dare you, Mr. Opponent. I thought not. Welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. Today we've got a really fun showcase. I'm showcasing my own battles and it's my take on a really common team, Dragonite Double Steel. Usually you see this with Dragonite, Registeel and either Galarian Stunfisk or Cobalion. Obviously both Cobalion and Galarian Stunfisk don't come in Shadow form, so we've got my boy Shadow Sandslash. I think Shadow Sandslash is a phenomenal closer, however, you need to put it in something like an ABB team as it's absolutely wrecked against anything that is using counter. That is essentially what Registeel is going to be doing in the video. We're going to be safe switching into the big tin can, hoping to draw out Sandslash's hardest counter, and then we're going to sweep with the slash. Without any further ado, let's get into the video. And in game 1, we see Cobalion's brother from another mother, Virizion. The opponent is staying in. They do build up to what could be a Stone Edge. I love to call bait. However, if I get taken out with a Stone Edge, my backline is just going to get ran through. So I do get baited. You hate to see it. I'm now over farming, going for the super power. Super power does do more raw damage and it does secure the knockout. The opponent sends out Charizard and I immediately safe switch into the tin can. Registeel in its shadow form, objectively worse than the regular. Its lack of bulk and lack of fast move pressure does make it somewhat worse. However, we do make the Zap Cannon. After tanking the Blast Burn, Zap Cannon does get my shield back. The opponent's going to be unable to farm me down. They're going to need to throw, and that's exactly what the opponent does. Despite Sandslash being a Ice and a Steel type, taking double super effective from Fire, the wing attacks from Charizard are resisted. We did bank energy on Dragonite, so I send it back out. Fire off the Dragon Claw, looking to force the final shield or do big damage. The opponent lets it go. They're now into the yellow. Dragonite super glassy, but Dragon Claw isn't going to be enough to take me out. From this range, we soak the energy, look to snipe with Sandslash, and the opponent sends out Registeel. This is looking absolutely dreadful. Registeel has access to Focus Blast, and that is double super effective. The only win con at this stage is the opponent being an absolute noob and firing off a Zap Cannon. We call the bait, and just like that, we found a win con. Sandslash tanks the Zap Cannon. We can now overfarm. I'm looking to fire on CMP. Bulldoze, a dreadful move, but it will be knocking out or drawing the final shield. The opponent calls the bait and hashtag no baits on this channel. And just like that, we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we lead our Shadow Dragonite into Swampert. Pretty good lead. I highly doubt the opponent has Sludge Wave. This opponent doesn't even build up to it, so it's an easy no shield. If you are using Shadow Dragonite, how you should play this matchup is tank the first move, fire the superpower on CMP. Dragon Claw won't be knocking out, but guess what? Superpower certainly does. Down goes Swampert, and I'm immediately pivoting into Registeel. What you've got to remember, when you're running an ABB team, you do need to pivot. I was debuffed, even if I wasn't, I would be pivoting out into my Registeel, and just like that, we've drawn out Obstagoon. This way, Sandslash has a potential to sweep the end game. I go for the Zap Cannon. Although I don't like to bait, the opponent's got two shields. Even if they no shielded, Shadow Reggie hits like a truck. That'd do huge damage. The opponent fires off the cross chop. The big tin can survives. Can we make the Focus Blast? Yes, we can, despite me having probably the worst Registeel IVs in the history of the game. The opponent no shields the Focus Blast, putting all their faith in Charizard. I switch back out into Dragonite, forcing the opponent to throw some energy. Dragon Claw, more than enough to take me out. We can now come into Slash. We've got two shields. The opponent only has one. Am I going to call a bait? Last second, I put up a shield and the opponent full sends the Blast Burn, recognising that is going to be the only win con. We're now at the back-to-back Ice Punches. I can easily shield up whatever they throw. The first Ice Punch will be drawing the final Protect Shield, and the second Ice Punch is going to be all she wrote. So what you need to recognise in this battle is when you're running an ABB team, even if you're staying in the lead, you need to switch out after winning leagues. So if I allow my Dragonite to go down, we would have had Obstagoon absolutely run through the remainder of our team. Moving on to the next one. Dreadful lead. Dragonite into Steelix. Not too bad if we can land a superpower. However, we do pivot out into Registeel. The opponent answers with Haxor as I go straight for the Focus Blast. The opponent lets it go. They near get one shot. The opponent might have thought that was a Zap Cannon. That did probably a lot more damage than they was expecting. Reggie gets the lock-on farm down. And the opponent at this stage just says, fuck my life, and I'm out of here. Moving on to the next one. Another Steelix lead, so we're going to pivot straight into the tin can. The opponent this time super quick on the response to Machamp, and unfortunately Machamp, unlike Haxorus, does have a fighting charge move. We are going to be able to tank one cross chop, but ouch, that does huge damage. I am going to fire off the Zap Cannon, hoping to fish for the debuff. I'm only going to make one move anyway. Zap Cannon does get the shield, and we do lower the Machamp's attack. We come back into Dragonite. I think even after the debuff, Shadow Machamp hits like a truck. The opponent going to be an absolute savage, baiting me with a cross chop. If you're going to run this team, I think it's really risky to call a bait there, as I think probably one counter would take out a full health Sandslash and all its relatives. We fire off the Dragon Claw to take care of the Machamp. We pivot into Sandslash, and just like that, the ABB strategy has come in clutch as the opponent is core broken. They send out Trevadent into Slash. We land the Ice Punch, does huge damage. The opponent only going to make one move. I am going to respect the Shadow Ball, and the opponent full sends it. I am calling this Steelix, probably runs Crunch and Psychic Fang, so I think that's probably the hardest hitting move left in the game. Back out comes Steelix, and I'm full sending the Bulldoze. Bulldoze does draw the final Protect Shield. We get some lag, the opponent manages to get a free Dragon Tail and the charge move. What the heck is that nonsense? However, it shouldn't matter, as I am still going to be able to make the next Bulldoze. Bulldoze is going to put this Steelix pretty low. I don't want to get farmed down, so I am going to send out Dragonite. They can throw whatever they like, despite us not being particularly bulky. Steelix doesn't get the same type of attack bonus from either Crunch or Psychic Fang, so we're able to tank that. I reach the Dragon Claw, and Dragonite is about to be a Steelix counter confirmed. GG's, and thanks for playing, trainer. Moving on to the next one. We see the Battle of Dragons, Shadow Dragonite into Como-O. I always like to play this matchup, attempting to catch a Dragon Claw on Registeel. The opponent does fire it off immediately. So this is going to be resisted damage. We bank that energy for the end game. The opponent now sends out Trevadent, and this isn't too bad a matchup, to be honest. Despite Zap Cannon being resisted, Shadow Reggie hits pretty hard. The opponent actually lets me get to the Zap Cannon before firing off a charge move. We don't get the attack drop. However, you can see the second Zap Cannon is going to more or less knock out. I highly doubt the opponent baits, but I've got no intentions of shielding up Reggie. The opponent is going to have to fire off the Seed Bomb, or we will make the Zap Cannon. The opponent shows great counting, firing off just before we make the move. Seed Bomb takes us out. Trevadent is still quite healthy, so I am going to have to throw energy, but we did bank it on Dragonite coming. I overfarm ever so slightly and fire off the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will be either forcing a Protect Shield or securing the knockout. The opponent, to my surprise, does shield. I think at this stage we're just going to put it all on Slash. If this is their best steel counter, I think Sandslash could have a good chance at sweeping this team. The opponent went for the Seed Bomb. That didn't knock out Dragonites. We've even got that as a sack swap. Stay in school, kids. Learn to count. I knew that was just a Seed Bomb. I got no intention of shielding that up. The opponent sends out Reggie, and 2-to-1 shield Sandslash should be in a pretty good spot. The opponent shields the first move, recognising I'm unlikely to bait. However, I don't fucking bait anyway, so it makes zero difference to me. The opponent obviously going to Zap Cannon. There's no point in no shielding, as we are going to be left super low, even from the Zap Cannon. We're going straight Bulldoze all the way. Bulldoze does land. I am going to get outpaced to the next charge move. I am going to shield it up, and this opponent's actually on Flash Cannon. Interesting. I've now got to be mindful the opponent could attempt to sack. The opponent does finally attempt to sack. We farm down Trevadent. We've got a whole heap of energy. What does the opponent want to bring back out? If they bring out Como-O, it's going to eat an Ice Punch. They send back out the Tin Can, so I take it out with the Bulldoze. Bulldoze returns Reggie to its Pokeball. I'm only one Shadow Claw away from the Ice Punch. It's going to be high Como-O, bye Como-O. Get fucking wrecked. Let's go. Moving on to the next battle, we'll lead Dragonite into a Kanto Mark. I really like Kanto Mark, to be honest. It's a Pokemon I've showcased on the channel many times before, of course, in its shadow form. The opponent is going to fire off a Thunder Punch, and I am going to shield this up. I'm then going to look to overfarm, fire off the Dragon Claw, and then I'm obviously going to look to make a catch on my Reggie. Let's see if we're successful. Dragon Claw draws a protection, I look to make the catch, and again we are successful. For those of you that like to come to school, it takes Mark 6 poison jabs to each Thunder Punch. That did absolutely nothing to our Tin Can, and again we've drawn out a Trevadent. This time the opponent smartly throws the Shadow Ball before we potentially debuff him. Shadow Ball does a lot of damage. I am going to return fire with the Zap Cannon, and even though it's resisted, in return this does quite a lot. The opponent again going to be able to overfarm. They are going to have to throw energy, and this opponent's counting absolutely on point. They throw just before the next Zap Cannon. Seed Bomb going to be securing the knockout. The opponent does have residual energy, so I'm going to have to more or less come in with Dragonite and throw straight away. I think they're one away from a Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb actually isn't going to take us out, but I do want to keep some health on Dragonite. Dragon Claw doesn't actually take them out. They are going to reach the Seed Bomb. This is going to get me super low. I'm now going to instantly pivot into Sandslash. Let's see what the opponent's got in the back. It's a Bubble Jellicent. This is definitely playable. The Shadow Claws are super effective. They are going to start ripping through this Jellicent. I'm going to call the opponent's going to Surf Bait me. They full send the Shadow Ball. Nice play from the opponent. I then throw 1 and the Bulldoze the correct time. And you always want to throw 1, 4 or 7, 2 turn versus 3 turn. I am now going to be forced to shield this up. And I'm going to call the opponent's going to attempt to catch. I'm going to be really well disciplined. Continue to overfarm. The opponent does send out Mark. You can see I'm looking to hit the charge move. What the fuck is that? 3-3 poison jab. So now I'm left on 0 HP. Ice Punch doesn't take him out. So I'm forced to snipe with Dragonite. Can we reach the Dragon Claw? We're going to die at the move. And I'm 1 off the Ice Punch. That was absolutely infuriating. Fucking this game shambles. But it is what it is. Moving on to the next one. Dragonite into Charizard. Pretty neutral matchup. I always look to catch the Dragon Claw on Registeel, and again we are successful. This isn't a particularly good play if I'm honest, as the opponent can still outpace us to a Blast Burn, but I'm hoping the opponent potentially switches out. They do not. As this is a non-Shadow Charizard, I actually will be able to survive this Blast Burn. Gets us super low. The opponent makes a great catch, catching the Zap Cannon on Swampert. This is still going to do some respectable damage. The opponent now farms down. This is going to be the world's most aggressive Dragon Breath farm down. Dragonite does resist the Hydro Cannon, however, they still do start to add up. They come super fast. Swampert only takes 5 Mud Shots, then 4, 2 each one. You can see the second one is actually going to knock us out. So I am going to decide to throw energy. I don't want to commit a shield here. Dragon Claw from this range is going to secure the knockout. The Charizard the opponent did have in the lead is still going to be a problem. However, I do have 2 Protect Shields too high behind the opponent. Sends out Trevadent. This Dragon Claw should finally force a shield off the opponent. And if it does, I'm going to pivot out into Slash. We now send out Slash. The opponent overfarms an absolute heap. I've got no intention of shielding this up. Hoping the opponent is a Master Baiter, and they are. Seed Bomb. Doesn't do a whole heap of damage. I think this is actually 11. You can see I'm looking to no shield. Last second I think, did I miss one? And the opponent baits me again. Horrible shield for myself. However, we should still be in an alright spot. Ice Punch draws the final protection. This opponent makes a huge misplay. You're too short, pal. No chance I'm getting baited again. We call the Dragon Claw and the opponent then concedes the match. Moving on to the next one. Horrible, horrible lead. We're going to pivot into the Tin Can. The opponent sends out Gliscor, so this is looking pretty RPS. Due to Gliscor's flying ground typing, they do single resist electric, and you can see that does absolutely nothing. However, likewise, as they aren't a Shadow, Earthquake isn't going to one-shot, so we are going to be able to survive. 1, the opponent full sends it, and Reggie again shows its bulk. The opponent decides to go straight for a Night Slash. Night Slash will be securing the knockout. This is going to need to be a matchup where Sandslash is good in the end game. Dragonite obviously going to not shield this up, as Walreign's going to delete us with our Ice type damage. The opponent fires off the Night Slash, pivot back out into the Walrus. I'm going straight for the Superpower. Superpower does get shielded. Come on, Slash, do your thing. The opponent builds up to what could be an Earthquake. The thing is, when you're using Shadow Pokemon, you got 2 shields. Opponents love to bait. This opponent does Master Bait and Slash. Tanks that double resisted Ice type damage. Like an absolute champ, I return fire with the Bulldoze. Bulldoze gets him into yellow. Again, this could be an Earthquake. Come on, trainer. I dare you to throw it. Again, the opponent baits. Slash putting on an absolute clinic. This one, probably going to be the last attempt to throw an Earthquake, so I am going to shield it up. The opponent does finally send it. The opponent sends back out Gliscor. I think I probably should have looked to farm down. I think this is a bit of a misplay. Ice Punch does take him out. Worst case scenario there, they would have only made a Night Slash. I would have left with 100 energy. The opponent sends out Ninetales. Slash still needing to put on a clinic. We go straight for the Bulldoze and the opponent shields. The opponent now going to overfarm. I attempt to sack the Dragonite. We get farmed down. I think this is unfortunately going to be game over. I'm going to call this is just a Weather Ball, and the opponent learned from the mistake. They full send the Dazzling Gleam. The Powder Snows are double resisted. I'm just going to run out of HP. Bulldoze does land. You can see we're going to need 1 more to take him out. I'm going to fire off this Ice Punch at the Walrus. I don't even think this is going to knock out. So despite me making some huge bait calls, we're unfortunately going to lose that game. Moving on to the next one. This time we see Gliscor in the lead. Pretty good matchup for Dragonite, as the Dragon Breaths do a lot more damage. Then the wing attacks. The opponent attempts to catch a Dragon Claw on Dodgeball. I didn't throw. However, I do throw a superpower. Giving myself early shield advantage, we then send out Reggie. The opponent is hitting us 4 super effective with the double kicks. However, they don't do a lot as they're not getting same type attack bonus. We tank that and I am going to return fire with the Focus Blast. Focus Blast almost returns Dodgeball to their Pokeball. One more lock on, gets the job done, back out. Comes Gliscor and they are going to need to full send the Earthquake. Registeel has done its job, so I am going to allow it to go down. The opponent doesn't bait, returning me to my Pokeball. I'm going to wait out my timer and again come back into Dragonite. The opponent's already attempted to catch once, so I am mindful they could attempt to catch again. I'm not going to shield the first Night Slash and ouch, that hurt. I bank a Dragon Claw and send out Sandslash in case the opponent's got a counter user in the back. I need to draw it out. The opponent goes for the Night Slash. That doesn't do a lot and it's actually a Jellicent in the back. Sandslash with shield advantage should be in a good spot. I am going to shield this up even though I know it's going to be a Surf. As the opponent only has 1 shield, even if you like to bait, unlike myself, I'd highly recommend going for the correct charge move. We do land the Bulldoze. This is pretty much going to put them in a range where you can go straight Ice Punch if you want. I'm not even going to shield this next move. Shadow Ball doesn't quite take me out. We survive, we make the next Bulldoze. This is either going to force the final Protect Shield or draw the knockout. We can then switch out into Dragonite and it should be an easy Dragon Breath farm down to the finish. The opponent chooses to throw. I've got no idea why. It's going to be a fast move beatdown. We shield up the Night Slash. No boost would save him and we take that game. Moving on to the next one, we see Cresselia in the lead. Pretty bad for Dragonite as Moonblast will be one shot and attempt to catch on Reggie. The opponent shows great discipline and pivot out into Drapion. I've used Shadow Drapion a lot. It's actually the channel mascot. This is a regular version. However, with our lack of defense, this is a matchup they probably can win. So I'm going to fire off the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon goes on shield. It gets this Drapion into the yellow. We easily survive this next charge move. To be honest, I just want to take shield advantage here. If it's their best steel type answer, I think Slash again looking great to sweep. I fire off the Zap Cannon as I either want the attack drop or the shield. The opponent does shield it up. We finally get the attack drop. So Crunch from this range still won't be lethal. The opponent fires off the Crunch. We're not going to get Poison Stung farmed all the way down. So the opponent forced to throw again. I'm just going to allow Reggie to go down. We can come in, Dragon Breath farm down this Drapion. The opponent did bank all that energy on Cress. So if at first you don't manage to catch, try again. I'm spamming out into Slash. The opponent does throw immediately. So we finally make the catch. And the opponent was baiting with a Grass Knot. Nice bait, trainer. The opponent's final Pokemon is Charizard. Sandslash is double weak to fire. However, this isn't a bad matchup. The opponent builds up to what could be a Blast Burn. Come on, trainer, I dare you. Throw it. And of course, they're baiting. We shrugged it off. The opponent doesn't even build up to a Blast Burn again. I'm going to hang on to 2 shields. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw. And that's going to be all she wrote. Always remember, guys, every time you masturbate, a cat dies. Moving on to the next one, Dragonite into Skunk Tank. I'm going to look to catch the Crunch on Registeel. It takes him 7 poison jabs to the Crunch, and we are successful in making the catch. Crunch actually does quite a lot of damage. The opponent now safe switches into Virizion. So again, you can see this is how the team's supposed to function. We need to draw out any sort of fighter to allow Sandslash to avoid it. We tank the Sacred Sword, return fire with the Focus Blast. Focus Blast doesn't do a lot, Virizion's pretty thick. As the opponent has farmed us down, I am very wary that I could be about to be Stone Edged, and that would be dreadful. So I do come in, fire off the Superpower. Superpower will knock out Dragon Claw, will not. Luckily for me, the opponent lets it go, and I'm spamming out into Sandslash. The opponent stays in with their Skunk Tank. This is only 6, so this is definitely not a flamethrower. I am going to allow the Crunch to go through. The opponent now sends out Cress. Sandslash again out here core breaking teams. Regardless of the moveset on this Cresselia, we do resist absolutely everything. Future Sight would be a best bet if you're stuck in this matchup as a Cresselia. If you're running it, of course, that does get same type attack bonus. I've still got 2 shields, and I'm just not going to shield anything. The opponent fires off the Moonblast. That's an easy tank. We are in the red, but we're definitely not getting Psycho cut down. Sandslash spamming out Ice Punch after Ice Punch. I'm just going to save 2 shields for Dragonite. The opponent fires off the Grass Knot. We come into Dragonite. They pivot out into Skunk. And have I made a mistake? These poison jabs are adding up. The opponent does throw. That's good for me, as we aren't going to take that next poison jab. We are going to be able to Dragon Breath farm them all the way down when Cresselia does return. We're going to be able to outpace to the back-to-back Dragon Claws. The first one will be drawing the final shield, and the second one is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. So I think if I was the opponent, I would have committed to attempting to fast move beat down my Dragonite. The opponent did not, and we take the dub. Moving on to the next one. Galv in the lead. Yikes, a bit tricky for all three of our Pokemon. I am going to attempt to catch what I imagine will be a lunge on Registeel. Let's see if the opponent actually throws a discharge. They do not. That lunge does absolutely nothing. Then I'll come into Meganium. Meganium, pretty spicy. I think it's actually pretty good. Frenzy Plant, Earthquake, great coverage. However, it's dreadful against anything that flies. We land the Focus Blast. The opponent builds up to what could be an Earthquake. I've got no intention of shielding up Reggie. And the opponent baits. Questionable. I think this is definitely the Earthquake, but I never really like to shield Registeel. The opponent does finally learn that Earthquake is the correct play. The opponent is now energy dry, so I'm really hoping I can Dragon Breath farm them down before they make a Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant would be resisted, however it does hit like a truck. You can see I farm up throw on the CMP type Dragon Claw, obviously going to take out the low health Meganium. The opponent's final Pokemon is Walrein. I'm going straight for the superpower. The opponent obviously shields. I think that's an easy bait. If you're one of them master baiting types, I now send out Sandslash. The opponent farms up to what could be an Earthquake. Come on, trainer, throw it. The opponent baits. Nice bait, trainer. If I had £1 for every time I got baited, when I had 2 shields, ironically I'd be rich enough to not have to go back on night shift tomorrow. The opponent now pivots out into the Galvantula. I'm going to throw the Ice Punch, draws the final Protect Shield. The opponent can throw whatever they like. Nothing's going to take us out from this range. And the opponent goes for another bait. What the heck? They're actually on Cross Poison. Absolutely bamboozled at this stage. Ice Punch takes care of the Galvantula. Back out comes the Walrein. And because they masturbated so often, I'm going to very rudely 2 shield flex. Earthquake takes me out. Dragonite, despite taking double super effective, is going to be able to Dragon Breath farm down. Moving on to the next one. Dragonite into Giratina, pretty neutral matchup. However, we do need to pivot as we are running ABB, so I look to catch the Dragon Claw on Registeel. Let's see what the opponent counter swaps, and the opponent's got Cobalion. Not great for Reggie. We are going to take huge damage from the Sacred Sword. However, we do have access to Focus Blast. The question is, does the opponent respect the damage? They might think this is a Zap Cannon while surprised. It is not. They near get one shot. The opponent is now going to be forced to throw. Sacred Sword will be taking us out. We can come back into Dragonite. Easily Dragon Breath, farm this down. I don't really need switches. Both of my remaining Pokemon do well against Giratina. The opponent sends out Steelix. Again, we're going straight for the superpower. This time the opponent smartly shields it up, and Sandslash out here, core breaking this opponent. Back out comes Giratina. I look to CMP tie to the potential Ancient Power Ice Punch. Goes unshielded. I am going to be able to tank this charge move. It is, of course, the Ancient Power. That is neutral. It doesn't do a lot. I can now Shadow Claw, farm them down. Steelix still has 1 Protect Shield remaining, but there's no baits. I go straight for the Bulldoze. Does the opponent want to commit that final shield? They do not. This now puts them in a range where we can just spam out Ice Punches. This is only a Psychic Fangs or a Crunch, but I am going to shield this up, as this Steelix is a bit too healthy for my Dragonite. I am going to throw the first Ice Punch. This actually goes unshielded, and then the opponent concedes the match. Moving on to the next one. Pidgeot leads can be really tricky for this team, as it's often Double Steel in the back, so I always look to catch. Of course, what is going to be a Feather Dance? It could be a Brave Bird, but I doubt anyone Brave Bird's a Dragonite. Feather Dance does absolutely nothing. However, it does double debuff our attack, which does mean that the Focus Blast is going to not one-shot or nearly one-shot this Cobalion. The opponent fires off the Sacred Sword. I'm going straight for the Focus Blast. As we're double debuffed, I highly doubt the opponent's shields, but they do. Yikes. If the opponent attempts to farm me down, we would make another Focus Blast. The opponent dumps energy. Sacred Sword takes me out, and this is a super healthy Cobalion. This is going to be a huge problem. Of course, we can't come in to Sandslash. I come into Dragonite. Fire off the superpower. Superpower won't be knocking out from this range. It does get them super low. I am going to have to respect a potential Stone Edge. And of course, using Shadow Dragonite, I get baited. The opponent actually chooses to give up switch. So again, I'm going to look to catch this time on Sandslash. Again, we're going to be double debuff, which is super annoying. Our fast moves are now actually helping Pidgeot gain HP. They're double resisted. Every time we throw one, they're actually gaining one. Not really, but we're now 4-stage debuffed. Luckily for me, Sandslash hits like a truck. Even 4-stage debuff, this Ice Punch is going to knock out. Down goes Pidgeot. They send back out Cobalion. They're so low. Even this 4-stage debuffed Ice Punch is going to be forcing a shield or the knockout. The opponent chooses to commit that final shield. As I'm 4-stage debuffed, you can just have Sandslash. We're going to put all our faith in Dragonite and this Giratina in the back. This is looking pretty promising. As we hit like a truck, the first Dragon Claw gets them super low. I farm up fire the next one on CMP. This is going to take care of Giratina. Down they go, and we're going to be able to resist it, Dragon Breath farm down, and take that game. Moving on to the next one, another Cresselia lead. Pretty bad, however, 2 better responses in the back. I'm going to attempt to catch a Moonblast, and again the opponent shows great discipline, holding their energy, and they now send out Swampert. Not fantastic. However, as there is Shadow on Shadow Climb, the Focus Blast does massive damage. I think if I really wanted to, I could probably double shield and attempt to lock on down. The opponent probably realising that is a play, go for the Hydro Cannon bait. This again is a Hydro Cannon. Can Reggie make the Focus Blast? No, we get taken out, but either way they are now energy. I'm going to wait out my full switch timer. So then once I've Dragon Breath farmed down, my switch timer should be up. I'm spamming out into Slash. Do we make the catch? Yes, we do. Now Swampert is out of the way. Hopefully Sandslash can have a good chance of sweeping. The opponent stays in, looking to bank a charge with their attempt to catch an Ice Punch on Registeel. And I'm not falling for that nonsense. I'm going straight Bulldoze. Bulldoze goes unshielded. As the opponent gave him that huge energy lead, attempting to catch. This is actually pretty good in the 2 shield. The opponent goes Focus Blast. They're not even attempting to debuff me again. I'll continue to go straight Bulldoze. I think if the opponent called an Ice Punch, it would really harm my chances of winning this game. We guarantee our shield, throw in the Bulldoze. I am going to commit my final shield here. We will outpace to the next Bulldoze. Again, they throw the Focus Blast. Perhaps this is a Flash Cannon, Reggie. We make the next Bulldoze. This is either going to force the final shield or secure the knockout. I am now going to combo play into Dragonite. We've got the superpower locked and loaded. This will be taking care of the Tin Can. Back out is going to come Cresselia. Any chip damage at this stage is going to be valuable. The opponent isn't going to be able to take care of my Sandslash. We will resist absolutely everything. The opponent farms up as much energy as they can. Moonblast will be taking me out. However, Sandslash is now primed to sweep. You can see we are pretty low. However, even if this is a future sight Cresselia, it won't take me out. It's just a Moonblast. We're at the Ice Punch. You're going to see just how thick Cress is. This actually isn't going to take him out, but one more Shadow Claw is going to be all she wrote. So those were the triple shadow battles with Dragonite Double Steel. I think you can see in this video Sandslash is such a great anti-meta pick. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on the channel. Link to my battle submission form is down below. And a huge thank you as always to everyone watching. And I will see you all in the next one.